And he said something that was in that experience at that point that stuck with me. And he said, well, what if it's not yours to carry? What if it's yours to let go of? What if you don't have to continue to carry it? And that was kind of that opening to it, like actually starting to shift.
Welcome to Startup Spouses, where we help entrepreneurial couples take their relationship from mediocre to mind-blowing. I'm Marie, an intimacy coach.
I'm Adam. I'm a business coach.
So today I wanted us to take us on a journey, actually.
A journey?
Yes, a journey.
Super. How are we doing that?
Well, I thought it would be kind of interesting and fun to share with our audience about our actual journey, our psilocybin journey.
Oh, really? It would be fun to share our like super vulnerable, like intense journeys in the world of psychedelics.
Yeah, why not?
Sounds fun. No, it should be. I think that's actually a really interesting conversation.
Yes.
And I think it's important to disclaim, first off, of course, that we are not licensed professionals in the world of psychedelics. There are, certain laws. Of course, we're in a state where it is legal to go through these journeys with a guide for therapeutic treatment, and we are not therapists, doctors, or anything like that. This is not guidance on whether or not to do one of these journeys. This is just sharing our experience.
Yes.
With all of that out of the way.
Yes.
Please continue.
Okay. Well, I thought it would be interesting for us to discuss this because of the fact that we have been through therapy for, I don't know. Okay, so I've been in therapy on and off since I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And you've been in therapy probably...
Not as long, but
not as long.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I started going to therapy much later, probably when I was 29.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, it took me a while. I was a later convert.
Yeah. So, I feel like I've been studying this for quite some time and, like listening to other podcasts talk about it and really, diving in deep and trying to understand, this world of therapeutic treatment too. And, it was even suggested by my own therapist who thought that this might help because as you know, we've gone through a lot of challenging things in our lives too.
Right.
And with that challenge comes trauma, and with the trauma, you get this feeling of stuckness, like you can't move forward.
Yeah.
And talk therapy is wonderful and great, but sometimes to move, you need to, I don't know, for me, for being impatient, maybe is not the right word, but just feeling that I need an extra tool.
Yeah.
And I see that psilocybin for me was a tool to bridge the gap of where I am and where I want to go. And so I'm not sure how that relates for you, but I know for myself that's one of the choices I made.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. It's like, I was in therapy for 15 years consistently, especially coming out of recovery from alcoholism, addressing some of the deeper shame issues and how, and the shame that kind of comes up from, from all of the stuff that's come up. And also like that there's the aspect of like feeling this trauma, right, that came up when you're a kid, but also like the idea that what right do I have to say I had trauma, right? Because it was like I had a good life growing up. I didn't have any of that. And it's like, no, there was like a lot of like stuff that impacts us and like entrenches itself down even generationally.
Yes.
And I think for me it was along the lines of, yeah, therapy helps with that, but there's also a lot of generational stuff like that goes deep, that goes long. And like, I mean, with family business stuff that was very much along those lines. And I really struggled with the decision to kind of pursue psychedelics because I was really intrigued by them, after reading Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, and also listening to a lot of podcasts on the subject. And Tim Ferriss has talked extensively about how psychedelics can help, especially from the standpoint of veterans coming out of military combat, things like that, PTSD situations, and so the evidence that has been growing has been intriguing. Mm-hmm. But of course, I think the same kind of like inhibitions I had with exploring it, came from the same kind of inhibitions I've had with regard to like exploring things in the world, in the realm of sex positivity, which we talked about a few other times. Like the shame around it used to be illegal, and Ronald Reagan used to tell us not to use drugs, and what the hell. And there was these blanket statements of like, all of these are bad, or you're a bad person if you're doing it. And also coming from the background of alcoholism, I have an addictive nature where I was addicted to alcohol. So why would this be different? And I think in just the education of it, and talking to my therapist and talking to licensed guides, which if this is something you're considering, you really should, consider talking to someone who is a professional in the field, a doctor, has the degrees and has the experience and expertise to do it. But in doing so, I learned that it was like, it would be maybe a good opportunity to do exactly what you were saying, which is unstuck myself. There's also a lot to be said for the fact that we have been through a lot of stuff in the last few years. We've been through a lot of transition in the last few years.
Yes.
We've blown up our lives in the last few years in a variety of ways, leaving jobs, transitioning into new things that are scary, that are terrifying, and that are still kind of entrenching themselves in our nervous system, that are causing that nervous system disruption and not allowing us to see clearly where we're going, or what's right. We were in the jar and we can't see the label, so to speak. Yes. I think there's a lot to that too.
I would agree with that, and for some reason, when we're going through these transitions, I can feel that we're carrying our past in with it. And not only that, I am a good example of I sabotage. Mm-hmm. And so feeling that need to move forward and wanting to be successful and wanting to help other people, I was taking my garbage with me from the past. Mm-hmm. And yes, I was unloading it in a way, but not fully letting it go.
Right.
Too. And saying like, because the pathways that I have learned, whether it was masking from undiagnosed ADHD or growing up in, the 80s where you don't talk about these things and you were told that you were too sensitive, so that you try to get in line. That was a lot of the work, is try to act normal as possible. Yeah. And so doing that and moving forward and wanting to be open and help other people, it's a disservice if I stay in that mindset and take those dysfunctional tools that I learned when I was younger and bringing them into the room with other people.
Right.
So it's not only for myself to move forward, it's helping other people as well to move forward.
Yeah, becoming who you best can be, so you're unsticking yourself from that sabotage. Say more about that. I'm curious about the sabotage part. How does that play into it?
I think it's everybody has the feeling that they're either not enough or too much, and it's
or both.
Yeah, and that's true, and it both can be true at the same time. You can feel not enough and too much at the same time.
Right.
Too much of something negative and not enough of what the other person wants you to be.
Yeah.
And that can be really disheartening. And so when you're moving forward and you're stepping into your uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone, there's going to be a lot of things, negative thoughts that go through your head of, I can't do this. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
How can I be in these rooms? And you feel that inside of you.
Yeah.
So I don't know any entrepreneur who doesn't have those thoughts that go through their head maybe at least once a month,
Right.
or once a day. So like,
Well, I think it's a necessary thought. I mean, because like again, I think if you're doing something that you've never done before, or if you're an entrepreneur, you're building something that nobody's ever done before. You've certainly never built it before. You're building something new. You're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. It's also kind of like a dopamine hit, like that hits like in that risk way, but it also pushes you beyond the comfort zone, which pushes you into that curiosity gap. Remember, that pushes you like down into like the confidence gap. I'm sorry, where you are like, I've never done this before, and you feel incompetent once you start the process. And it's breaking through that. It's understanding that that's a natural part to get to mastery.
yeah,
That that it's required to go through that, but it's not easy. And so what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is that in that confidence gap, you would sabotage yourself.
yeah, because of the fact that also, my life has been a pattern of something good happens, so I must pay the price, or something, something in order for me to achieve something, quote unquote, good in my life. I need to go through struggle and hardship and punishment, and it's just basic, Catholic 101.
Yeah, right. Catholic guilt 101. I love
The
it.
Catholic guilt 101. Suffering is inevitable. Like,
Yeah.
that's the mindset of it. And I know that's part of my past, and I've worked so much to get pushed past that. And yet, I also wanted to be free of it too.
Right. Well, of course. Yeah.
I wanted to start new.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think what we're getting into now is kind of that first step of what we do when we're preparing to go into this journey.
Yes.
Right. Which is setting the intentions.
Yeah. What do you
and
mean?
Preparation.
You don't just
Just
go,
jump in and start. I mean, you don't
So you
just,
just-
just don't jump in and trip balls and listen to Pink Floyd. I mean, part of that, I guess, like, but no, I mean, it's very much like, I think the experience that we experienced, and many people in the clinical setting will experience with regard to psychedelic treatment, is it's very much not like a social experience in terms of you're not going to a festival or things like that, or like having, I mean, it is more of like, if it's for the healing, it is going inward. It's having to, what our guide described as kind of like running a marathon, and you have to prepare for it. You have to set the intentions of what you want to achieve, not expectations. And I think this was the important part for us to learn, because I've done it twice now. I did it one time a couple of years ago, and then another time more recently within the last couple months.
Yeah.
And you did it shortly after my second one for the first time. And I think what I learned really quickly is that, like, those intentions that you set, even if you set the intentions, it's kind of like, man plans and God laughs, right? You set these intentions, but if they become expectations, you'll be set to be disappointed, because you just don't know what you're going to get in the experience. You don't know.
Yes.
And so then you set those expectations so that then you're open-minded in the experience of, like, what's going to come up, what, letting go of what comes up and not trying to figure it out in the moment of when you're in it,
Yes.
but letting it happen and letting it process. And a great guide will obviously hold that space for you.
Yes.
And then kind of in the aftermath, sitting with that. And then really integrating what you learn. That's when you start to journal. That's when you start to put the pieces together. And so I'd be interested, I think, that, like, we both can kind of share our own experiences and how that worked.
Yeah.
But with the intention settings in particular, I know what my intentions were. What were your intentions?
For me, I felt this overwhelming guardedness about myself, and how people remarked of how resilient I am, and how I couldn't do what you do, and really being like the forefront of like this warrior aspect of me, like always advocating for my children and trying to get them help in what they needed too. So I felt like very guarded person,
Right.
and I felt very closed off from everything else. And so my intentions were to be able to let go of that, because I'm always scanning for the exits and feeling that I'm one step away from something's going to happen. And my brain wires that way. It's like something's going to happen and I got to look out for it, and I've
Right.
got to be on guard for it. So a lot of that is letting go of that, and feeling that a lot of this feeling of being disconnected from what a lot of people call God, or the universe, or source, or whatever it's called. I believe it's all the same. So I use mainly God as a aspect of it,
Yeah.
and feeling that disconnection from myself, of that spiritual part of myself, and feeling that, when we were going through a lot of these challenges in our life, people said that they would pray for us. And I'm sorry,
Right.
like when you're going through for 6 years, you're like, wait, am I broken? Like,
Right.
am I not praying right? Am I not, is that person like, am I not deserving of
Just
these
prayer work for everyone else, not me.
And
Yeah.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And it's like, I don't hear that. Like what's going on for me? So it's kind of like, I'm not trying to be like poor me, but it's in a way it was like, it's like how people talk about, I consider diets, and if the diet's not working, it's your fault, sort of thing, instead of
Right.
actual diets. That's why I'm like, well, maybe prayers don't work for me.
Yeah.
And feeling not like feeling like, because we were doing this all by ourselves in
Yeah.
the last 6 years. We were pretty much,
Oh, we were on our own. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
And
even
there's-
doctors were
yeah.
like, you need to go find these places.
Yeah. Well, then there's probably a name for this kind of fallacy. I don't know it off the top of my head, and maybe somebody knows it out there, but the idea that like there are so many variables that something is bound to go wrong. And so when you're saying that you have like a solution for something, but one of those variables goes wrong, it's easy to point to that one thing that went wrong and blame it on the person for that. Like that's the
Yeah.
diet thing. Like, oh yeah, I did everything right. Oh yeah, but you didn't eat that day, or you didn't do that day.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think there's a fallacy there that like you can't really overcome when people are just like shaming you. And like over the last 6 years, when we're trying to advocate for our kids. And we've got things like a severe eating disorder and OCD and like and SI kind of stuff, and then the doctors are saying, oh yeah, you should do this, you should do that, and it's just like pointing out all the things that we're not doing.
We did, and it
Yeah.
didn't work.
Right, and it's just like a big drain on our nervous system, because we're always like feeling responsible for the entire weight of the world on top of us. I dealt with that in our family business, where it was like, yeah, nobody would change a thing in there. Like none of the owners would come together and actually talk to each other. Nobody none of the ownership would really like address the key critical people issues that were necessary to change, that only they could. And so, yeah, it was easy for them to look into the business and the inner workings and say, yeah, you just should have done this, or you shouldn't do that, or, well, it's just destined to fail. And by the way, you'll have to like run that while that happens. It's like, no, there's a solution, and you're not paying attention to it. Only now you're putting all of that weight on me.
Yeah.
And we were feeling that on both sides of that.
Yeah.
And you and of course you felt that weight of what I was feeling through that too, on top of what our daughter was going through and the kids were going through. So yeah, so I hear your intention there, sure.
Yeah, it and very much is feeling that aloneness in this world, and not feeling connected to anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Too, because also it's like that personality is like, we're looking for all the exits. Who am I going to fight next?
Right.
What's going to blow up in my face? What's going to happen next that's wrong? And it's like, I was always on edge for that matter. And
Yeah.
and that not many people go through what we've gone through.
Right.
And so it's really difficult to do talk therapy because it's a very specific kind of stuff that we were going through. And so can the psychedelics can bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I think that there's like that, because that's a great point. I think that in talk therapy, that only goes so far as what we, in our conscious mind are willing to like tap into. Like a therapist can like poke us in the head or poke us in certain areas, and we can just say nope, nope, and like, or like, overshadow it, or it'll only go so deep. But with plant medicine, there's not a whole lot of ability to nope what's happening with that. And like if you try to nope it, yikes. So
yeah,
it's
I'd like to talk about your experience.
well,
if you
I could share about mine. Like, yeah, I think from, but I think, but that was the point. Like, it was like of that bridge you're talking about. It's like, I think I'm not the scientist to be able to discuss the inner workings of how psychedelics work in your brain, but I know that they are basically unwiring connections and rewiring that is really just like, once you're in it, and it's poking around at things in there, and things are coming up, and it's amplifying certain feelings or emotions you have, and showing you in different ways, making you feel, making you see, making you hear, and all of the senses are active in terms of how you experience it. And everyone's different again, and it may not make sense in the moment, and it certainly didn't for me. But the idea that when you can integrate it later is pretty remarkable, because that's when everything starts to, like, you can start to wire everything back together. So I can share a little bit about my experience. And
I want, also
with
your intentions, if you want to share that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So my intentions, I think, I don't recall, I think really the first time I did it a few years ago, my intentions were to reconnect with my higher power, with God in some way, because I felt very disconnected to God. And that was one of the primary intentions at that time. Mm-hmm. The second time, and so I'll share a little bit about the first experience then. So I made that intention. That intention was important, reconnect spiritually with God and feel more connected there. I went into that knowing that, that most experiences are not terrifying, especially if they're in a safe place where there's a guide and things like that. And mine didn't necessarily start out terrifying. It was actually a very kind of calm and peaceful, kind of like felt like I was on horseback, like, just kind of through the desert space while this music was playing in the background. And it was just a dark desert landscape, but I also felt like this kind of like undertone of loneliness, like it was lonely. I'm like, okay, I'm starting a journey here. That's what it feels like, because I'm in this desert and I'm exploring. And then, a lot of like deep colors of like purple and orange and all of the kind of like the desert landscape kind of pictures. And then I was writing it, like there was this female spiritual energy that kind of came into my presence, for lack of a better term, and just shrouded my view with darkness. Yeah. And from then on out, it just got dark. Yeah. And I won't like go into detail about it, but there were just a lot of imagery in that one, where I would come in out and out of the session of like, I would like kind of put the eye mask on and go deep into myself. And what I found was it just kept on going deeper into darkness, getting absorbed by the earth, becoming smaller, and just shrinking down and all of this, and becoming lonelier. And I felt myself seeking and like actively seeking the presence of God and not finding it, and feeling more isolated and alone. And the whole experience ended like on the last, like kind of the climax of it was I was basically descending deeper into hell, shrinking smaller and smaller, till I ended up in this basement of hell, in like sinking into the mud with other kind of lost souls, feeling as absent from God as I possibly could be. That was the feeling I had. And it was at that point that I just cried and just gave up, said, fine, like, God, you don't want me around, all this kind of stuff. And then immediately out of that, I popped out sober, and I was like completely lucid and fine. And that was the first kind of experience. And there was like obviously the resonance of that experience, which kind of, but here's the interesting thing about like how psychedelics have affected me. And I'm not sure if this is true for everybody, but I feel like it, maybe it is. But in that experience, I experienced like something terrifying, the exact opposite of what my intention was. And, it would have been, for all intents and purposes, like pretty traumatic. But that night, I was just eating pizza and talking about it as matter of factly as I possibly could be. Like it didn't have a lasting like emotional effect on me, aside from like, okay, there was some rewiring that was happening, and now I was kind of like just really able to objectively observe the experience and try to figure it out. And so that was an interesting dynamic. And of course, in the days and weeks that followed, I started to see more coincidences that actually gave me more of like the connection with God that I was looking for. It didn't come in the experience. It came after.
Yeah.
And that was pretty remarkable when I would like actually just open my mind to it, because my mind was now open to it. It was almost like the experience was disconnecting all of that garbage that I was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And making me see it in a certain way that like, hey, here's your worst fears, like of being absent, but you know, the reassurance is going to happen in real life.
Yeah.
And that was pretty interesting. So that was my first experience. I could talk about my second experience too.
Please do.
So I put it off for a couple of years to do another experience, because even though my guide at the time said I was probably unfinished, because I basically went into hell and like came out of it at the scariest possible moment. He said, you should probably go back in and like figure the rest of that shit out. Because there's some deeper stuff in there. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take a rain check on that, boss, because that was kind of like, I got a lot to process there. So it took a couple of years, and really it was like, I think we just, I don't remember. How did we come into, I think it was through your therapist, like recommended somebody.
She was very much into that circle of people too.
Yeah.
And gave us a contact for that. So
yeah, and I think it was just calling back to us in a certain way, calling back to me, and so by this time, you know, within the last few weeks, I'd been about a year out of my running my company. So I had been out of the unhealthy environment that I was in. I was starting something new, but I was still dealing with a lot of the nervous system disruption of things like that were happening with our daughter, things that were happening within the family business. There was a ton of resentment in there over a lot of that, and a lot of like unresolved stuff. And I wanted to go in and try to resolve that. And I know that there was still an attachment to that family business because I grew up in it.
Yeah,
I was born into it. And over the last year, for the first time in my life, I've been like trying to build something on my own and on our own, right?
Yes.
And without that kind of that. So I had to work out through a lot of that. And so my intentions were to kind of like let go of the generational attachment that was associated with the fourth generation family business, and more attuned to myself as like, who am I? And like without that, identity wise. So that was one of the primary intentions that I had, and really to kind of dig back into the shame and all of that stuff. And so this time, I mean, if the first experience was terrifying, the second experience was actually 1,000 times more intense and terrifying. And I know that sounds like, well, why would you do that? And in the midst of that experience, I would have said, I don't know. This was a really, really big mistake. Because I went into it and it was just like, this time it was just so immediately hit me and like pulled me into this, like right back to where he was. Like I was descending back, yeah, into the hellscape. Immediately felt that sense of loneliness back when I was there. It was like it picked up right where it left off, and it just got even more chaotic. And what I experienced in this one was this really intense time dilation, where like a half hour had passed in real time. But I had felt that half hour in an eternity, like a real eternity. And that eternity was like a million deaths of loneliness, where I was just getting smaller and smaller into like the smallest form of insect. And I was just like, I was saying things, but I was so much more incoherent this time around. And I was so much more at loss with reality. Like I lost all sense of what was real and what wasn't. I once came to and I was like, do I even have a wife? Do I have kids? I don't believe this. I'm like, am I coming out of what was reality and coming into this crazy person that is actually reality? Is what I was dreaming like. And I had to question that, because how much of the author of my own life am I? And so it was like, and I think it really came to a head when I was just laying on my side, and just like I felt like this massive weight was like pushing me down, like on my side. And I asked the guide to hold my hand at this point, and I just told him, I like, this feels like all of the generations that came before me in my life, like all of the generations are just pushing down on me, expecting me to be the one that changes things or makes things right, or makes everything better. And it's like all on me. And he said something that was in that experience at that point that stuck with me. And he said, well, what if it's not yours to carry? What if it's yours to let go of? What if you don't have to continue to carry it? And that was kind of that opening to it, like actually starting to shift.
Yeah.
I think that was just such a heavy point of all of that, everything that I was carrying at that point, and why I was experiencing this and these two experiences the way I did. Because I carry that weight, while outside presentation says I'm doing just fine and I'm here to help. But I'm carrying that weight internally, to your point, suffering, in silence, because I don't believe, I never really believed that I was really entitled to have that level of kind of heaviness.
Yes.
I didn't feel like I had the time, didn't feel like I had the capacity, and I just couldn't afford it.
Yes.
Because I had shit to do. I had to be the one to solve it. And that's the way it came up. And that was kind of the big revelation in there. And it shifted at that point to the second half of it was me basically releasing all of this like anger that was inside of me in a very somatic way, like moving my body and like just like kind of these like really like intense like somatic releases, and my guide kind of talking to me about like what was happening. And it felt so good at that point, like to actually be releasing that. And yeah, so that was kind of the nature of like my experience in that and how it revealed. So in the integration phase of that, it almost felt a bit complete, because like for the next few days, I would like kind of like have these like bursts of like like that, and it would feel good.
Yes, I remember that.
Like explosions of energy, or like this of the resonance. And I integrated that, and it was just like, yeah, I realized that it's just a lot of the weight that I was carrying that I'd never let go of, and that I don't have to carry it anymore, and that I can move forward without it. And so it was, as terrifying as it was, I think it was a necessary experience. It was the necessary experience for me in order to move past it and find something beautiful from it.
Yes.
And go into the next phase. And that's kind of where I left mine. So, yeah.
So, I heard these stories, and I was deciding, yep, I'm going to do that. Like,
you did it on the day of. So I was coming out of mine and like feeling like this, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I was like super emotional, and like, and our guide just like kind of asked her, and she's just like basically doing the sales pitch on, and Marie's like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm like, no, I'm like, still no, don't do it. What are you doing?
Well, a part of me is like, the intuitive part of me was like, yeah, you have to do this. Like, yeah, I sat when you were done, before you were like, even before I had made up my mind before you even took the medicine, like, because we sat down and we had a conversation and in this room that was very nicely set up to accommodate you for this process. And I felt very comfortable. And when I was leaving, I was like, yep, I got to do this sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to tell him.
Well, that's not what you said. You said it like, ah, shit, I got to do this.
Yes. It
Something
was
like
like,
that.
oh my gosh, okay, of course I've got to do this. Like that, like when I came back and I'm like, oh, like so I set up the conversation,
Yep.
and then he's like, well, I was gonna set it out for like a few weeks out, and then you told me you couldn't do that day, and I was like, oh, and he's like, well, I got the week earlier, and it was like a week later.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess I can't talk myself out of this now. I have to do this on this
Right.
day because, everything is set up that way. So, like, it was a process. I'm glad it was kind of a more quicker process because when we were setting our intentions, I could really feel my nerves kick in. I mean, hearing your experiences with it, growing up in the 80s where, you're told you're going to go crazy forever. And
Oh, yeah. That was still in my mind. It was like,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. And I expressed that really well to it's like, this is my biggest fear, that I'm going to go crazy forever. And I will never come back from this. And why would I do something like that I'm never going to
Marie.
come back from it?
No, you're already crazy.
That is true. So like that day was a very, like, even the night before, I was like, I didn't sleep and
Yeah.
I was having troubles, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I could feel like I was having like experiences that would be that you had, like, too, because
Yeah.
it was like felt like it was like
So you were feeling the medicine
before you
even took it, like the night
too.
before.
So,
Yeah.
so the day of, I was kind of terrified too. So,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, okay, I've got to, I don't, like, even right now, I'm like, how did I do that?
Yeah. Well, because
got
I
the
was doing
courage.
my best to like have my best poker face because I was just
You were
like,
not
I
doing a
was
good job.
internally terrified for you. I did not. Every time I talk to people about this, I'm like, I do not want you to have the experience I did, but I also kind of want you to have that experience. But this is like the cool thing about the medicine is at least for us. I mean, yeah, I had a really terrifying experience and I survived, and I like came through it on the other side much stronger, and it was great. And everybody kind of gets the experience that they need. Maybe not the one they want, but the one they need.
Yes, exactly.
And the one that they can tolerate. And so like I had a really difficult experience, but I was like also terrified for you that you would have that kind of experience. And I got a call in the middle of the day of like, yeah, she's just like not doing great and you should come now and take her home or whatever. And like, and
Those were your fears.
those were my fears, like of
Yes.
you going into it. So, but I was like doing my best to have the best poker face. I'm like, no, it's going to be great for you. You'll be fine. Because I mean, like, yeah, that was my experience, but my experience is not going to be, it doesn't have to be your experience. You never know what you're going to get.
Just
So,
like you told me, it's the Wisconsin Ironman course is just a little hilly.
yeah, I know, right?
It's like,
Well,
I was like, you liar.
well, the thing was like, in this case, I wasn't lying. Because I knew that at least I knew my mind was going to associate everybody's journey with the journey that I had. But I also knew that that was not rational because most often everybody's are different and you're going to have a different experience. So my fears were essentially not rational because you were going to get the unique experience that you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And so I did have a unique experience
You did?
too.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I like just like
how
you-
long did it take you for to take off your clothes?
What?
I'm just joking.
It's like, no, like I was wearing, I think it was a colder day and I was wearing a sweatshirt. And as soon as like I started, like it didn't take very long. Like yours was quick and mine was quick. It was like 15, 20 minutes. And
Well,
I
the
started
actually I went to get into it.
yeah. And my body like heated up pretty quickly. So I took off my sweatshirt. He went to go get a fan. I was like, I can't explain exactly like not like hearing voices, but being told what to do.
Yeah.
So I started like, we were trying to have a conversation and I was like, I cannot have a conversation. And I start like closing my eyes and leaning down on like this seated position. And it's like, I had this this knowing of, okay, you need to lay down and put your arms behind your back in the most vulnerable position that you could possibly be in. It's like, and when I like kept listening to that and being what I was being told to do, it felt good for me. Like, because I know that the more
to do
you
what you were told.
Yeah.
That's a good girl.
The more I struggle, like everybody was saying, the more that you push against what you're, being bundled to doing,
Right.
that it's going to cause more. It's going to cause more.
It's you're resisting. What you resist persists. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. And so I'm like, okay, I will do what you tell me to do.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'll lay down. And then I was like, now I'm like, he got the fan out. I felt bad. I'm like, he's got the fan out. And then I was like, I'm cold. Can you put a blanket? So he put a blanket on me. And then I was like feeling my body to start to shake. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I need to turn off these fans because I'm getting cold. Because, when you get cold, you start to shake. And then it was like, no, this is part of the process. Like this, it was telling me like, this is part of the process.
Right.
Like you got to listen up, like right now. Like, and then I felt like this presence of being held too. And that every time I felt this wave of, okay, we're going to go into this direction, I felt this fear come inside of me. And then I had this experience where my younger sister is very much the like charge ahead kind of personality that she'll just do it, like, oh, we're going to jump off a 30-foot cliff. We're going to do that. So that's kind of her personality. Like she will just do. And so I channeled her, like imagined her holding her hand and we're like 3, 2, 1, jump. And every time I did that, I felt like this part of me was feeling this overwhelming like feeling of blissness and stuff like that. So my experience was very somatic too. So it was like this process of going through my body and feeling that I was releasing a lot of what was stored in my body too. For what seemed a long time. So it was almost like this knowing they're like, we're here to take care of you. Your guide over there, he's just there to watch your body. Like I was being told what to do, but every time I listened and like let go and surrendered, I had that feeling of like blissfulness is the only way I could describe it. So it was, that experience for me was a lot different from yours because I kept like enjoy like having this experience. Like I knew what to do. My body knew what to do. It knew how to release things. It was very, very intelligent and very smart. So it was an experience like, oh, this is your body way of releasing things. Oh, like this is, something's coming up, breathe it in, like it was very much, very spiritual, very like blissful sort of experience to it. So, and to the point where I was there for a long period of time, and even the music, like how I was telling what you resist. So every time I was up in my head thinking, oh, this is not part of, like, oh, this is weird, this is, different. And like part of the music would hold on to a note, or my body would contract, or all the above, that it was telling me, hey, stop being in your head. Stop overanalyzing things.
Right.
Be in this moment. Just be in this moment. And that's what it kept on. It was like gently nudging me into that area. I don't know if I didn't start listening to it.
Yeah.
But at one point, when I got up to have a snack too, I was laughing because I was like, food is so fucking good.
I
And
know.
like, cause you know, it was like 4 hours had passed.
But here was the beautiful thing about that though. Like, cause I walked in and you're like munching on cashews and just like loving life, like
Yeah.
munching on these cashews. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
No,
But it's like,
fine.
but when I saw that, that was the first time in my life that I've known you that I saw you enjoying food so freely
Yeah.
without feeling anything restricting you from that.
Oh, interesting.
And that was like, from my perspective, seeing your struggle with eating disorder and all that kind of stuff, it was so freeing and wonderful to see that.
Oh.
And I think that's what was, I mean, that was the first inclination of like, oh my gosh, this is, as I walked in and you're like, you're enjoying it. And I'm like, wow, that's like amazing. Like, it's like that whole transformation is incredible.
Yeah.
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 So,
It was, yeah. And it was for me too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there for an instant and all of a sudden I said, this is me. Like,
Yeah.
you know, being a mother, being a caretaker, being your wife, having all these layers of these expectations and these cultural standards for how I should be in this world.
yeah.
I felt in that moment, I was free of all that to be myself.
Yes.
That I didn't know existed under all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like this knowing, this certainty, this feeling of being loved that I wasn't worried about anything.
Yeah.
And I even joked around. I was like, oh, like I would make this stifled like laugh or this every time I tried to like stifle anything or like even laughing, it was like the making that noise, it was a reminder like that is my ego. It's
Yeah.
kind of a jokester, a kind of playful. It's reminding me that don't take everything so seriously.
Right.
You know, this is like all of it was telling me that you have that certainty within you. You have that knowing in your body, that
Yeah.
somatic response, that this is what's true.
Mm-hmm.
And just coming out of that sort of situation, it's kind of like making sure that I'm connecting with myself and making sure that I now have, without a doubt, certainty of who I am.
Yes. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think like how, so kind of taking that full circle now that you have that, like, and I've kind of felt that too. It's like getting that, how does that come into our relationship and what we're building together? Like that true, like north of knowing like who you are, like at your core and like, and being like fully willing to embrace that. How did that strengthen our relationship and how does that move into our business?
I think at first and foremost, we had a conversation the day afterwards of we were just talking. I don't know what it was, but it was kind of like going through the experience as well. It was helping me in that transition period as well too. It's like not to reconnect with old patterns and stuff like that. And it was kind of like feeling like it was working in unison with each other. Like the newer parts of ourselves were working together to strengthening because we focused on ourselves. We let go of everything that was attachment oriented and we focused on ourselves to help ourselves improve ourselves in the midst of it so that we could come back together stronger, not only knowing that we are an individual but we're also a partnership and that there's this ebb and flow between the two of them too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And how that relates to our business is all these blocks that were in us, all these blocks can now free us and open us to being able to be more certain with how we move forward.
Yeah, and how we help people and serve our clients better and everything. And that's I think that's a powerful way of looking at it. We're not inhibited by the beliefs that kept us stuck, right? And yeah, there's still some things in there. I mean, it's like this is not like the medicine is not a way to like completely fix everything that's broken in your life, but it shines a light on, a lot of those areas that are just like, oh, didn't know that that was a thing. And so that self-awareness is this first step towards like integrating it further and growing. Because ultimately, yeah, the medicine wears off and you kind of get back into like what these old patterns are. And that was one thing our guide had said, like, it's like the ringing of like a bell. The resonance of the ring kind of goes on, but it flattens out over time until you can't hear it.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to kind of keep that, keep that resonance and remember what, and not go back to the old way of the old behaviors that you were leaning into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important is like, it gives you the ability to not settle in those grooves of the old patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you have this period of time where you can rewire stuff that you had connected with in the past that wasn't a useful tool. Like I don't know why we're 5 years old and we're using the same tools to help us as we're in our 40s. Like that's not making sense. So it helps like kind of, it calls it like snowing, like a snow over a path. And so that you can kind of create a new path.
Yeah.
In that instance. So
Snow angels, baby.
snow
Right.
and making snow angels
That's right.
too. So
Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, I think, no, I think that's a good, like, kind of place to wrap this in terms of how it helped us. I mean, again, this is just an experiential kind of show, just sharing our experiences with it. This is not advice to participate or seek it or think about it. Just sharing our experience and how it helped us and how we navigated those journeys. Just so if you're ever considering something along those lines, that was what we experienced.
yeah.
But if you did like this episode and want to share it with a friend, we would appreciate it. We're trying to get the message out there to entrepreneurial couples that if you can strengthen your relationship, it strengthens everything else. And as an intimacy coach and a business coach, we've seen both sides of it. We've seen the statistics on marriages and businesses just exploding or imploding. And we know that doesn't have to be the case. If you can build a strong relationship founded on the principles that are true and can actually strengthen the relationship, not the what society tells you about, like in terms of how of what romance is or what you learn from romantic comedies or anything like that, but true, real relational skills that we know well and that we can teach you. And from the business perspective, if you want to build a great relationship and you want to build a great business together with your spouse, that's how you do it. And so we appreciate you spending this time with us. We hope you'll share the show. We hope you like it. We hope you subscribe and give it all the stars and do all the things. And we hope to see you next time. And if you do like this episode, we've got it in our show notes. We've got a great resource. It's a weekly connection workbook where you can spend at least 20 minutes with your spouse once a week to really connect, to dive into the real issues, to really, really strengthen your relationship and be intentional about it. So download that workbook. Hope you enjoy it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.